What is up, design family, and welcome to another episode of Fit Design TV. On today's episode, we'll be doing something a little bit different. As fashion designers, we can always design amazing items, but when it comes time to kind of translating that design into a physical product, there can often be a disconnect. So at Fit Design, we do that a lot. That's kind of like what we work in, day out. And we take our designs, our technical designs, and we turn them to physical products. This video is a comparison of a digital design and a physical product side by side to show you guys how something when it's spec can turn out, what are the potential pitfalls, what are the similarities, what are the differences, what to look out for. So I hope you guys are ready. This is gonna be a bit of a different kind of video, but I'm excited to show you what we have. Welcome to Fit Design TV. On this channel, we'll explore what it takes to make it as an activewear fashion brand, whilst providing tips, tricks, and actionable steps towards starting your own product line. Whether you're an entrepreneur looking to start your own brand, or just someone interested in fitness fashion, there's something for you here. So for the topic of this video, I'm gonna be a little bit all over the place, but we're gonna look at a performance shirt we recently designed in 3 colors. So we have black, we have red, and we have green. So these are not finalized production products, they're samples. So this is essentially what it means is these were sent off to the supplier and they interpreted the tech pack that was sent to them, analyzed the information, and created these exact prototypes based on that. You're gonna see a lot of similarities between what is in the tech pack and a bit of differences depending on how the supplier might have interpreted it, any limitations in the design. All of these things are essential to be outlined in the sample phase, so that way you can kind of resolve any issues you have and move on forward. So having that comparison is kind of interesting. The first thing is we look at our tech pack, we have key components of information. So we have obviously the colorways, we have the materials that are spec'd. In this design, we have 2 types of materials. We have the main body fabric and then we have the mesh fabric. We have them in 3 colors. 2 of those colors actually have a marl. A marl is kind of when you have 2 different threads interweaved to kind of create this kind of speckled look. So we have a marl as well, which also has to be spec'd. And we spec, and fashion designers in general spec their colors according to Pantone. We use TCX, it's the most accurate. And you obviously have an idea of like, oh, I have this TCX here. How does that translate into an actual kind of real fabric? There are different things that affect the way that color translates, and one of them is the material that's being used. Is it a polyester based, nylon based, cotton based, organic fiber, non-organic? How much reflectivity? If there's more refraction on it, it's going to appear lighter because it's bouncing off a lot more light. If it's more kind of rough of a material, it's going to absorb a lot more light, so it's going to appear a little darker. So there's kind of like those different things that are out of your control when you're selecting colors that will affect the way that a color translates. So the way we combat this is we create samples so that we can see and we make adjustments from there. You can see over here, we have our 3 different colors. We spec them in 2 materials. We have 91 poly and then 9 spandex for the main part of the t-shirt, and we have a jersey mesh for the second part of the t-shirt, which is 94 polyester, 6 spandex. It's a bit of a thinner material. And this is kind of how they came out in all 3 colors. In these prototypes, there was a bit of a difference from what we spec'd, especially with the mesh. The color that we specified on the mesh didn't translate as well, and the supplier actually ended up using the wrong thread color, didn't match the main body. So these are very basic issues that kind of sometimes arise, and it's just a matter of outlining them and identifying them and then making those changes moving forward. You also have issues regarding kind of like the print, the size of the print. We may have specified a certain size on the sheet and the supplier might have interpreted a certain way, or there may be a variance in the size. So all of these things matter. The material that is used, is it a screen print, or is it a heat transfer, or is it a sublimation print? All of these things should be evaluated on the design. Some prints work better on certain products, so being able to test that out into real life is essential. And again, like these are the 3 colors, and then these are the 3 physical colors that we had. Some changes were made, everything is spec'd accordingly. One of the main things that you always want to get a sample for is the sizing. Clothing is all about fit. sportswear is all about fit. So being very specific with your size and creating a detailed technical drawing that shows your chest measurements, your waist measurements, your sleeve lengths, all of that is essential. And then being able to accurately translate that into physical product is also essential. The issue with this is, again, it's interpretation. How is the supplier interpreting it? Are your measurements as clear as they need to be? That's where having a good and detailed tech pack comes into play. And then also it takes some time to have a relationship with your supplier where they're consistently understanding, and if they have questions they should ask. So there's always a back and forth even with a tech pack. That's why having a kind of good sourcing structure is essential. We have our measurements and we always double check to make sure. Usually you should allow around plus minus 0.5 to 1 inch for variance, because different fabrics have different elasticities. They either shrink or they expand depending on the heat, the humidity. When you cut them up, they may roll up based again on the heat, the humidity. So there's so many factors that are out of your control. It's always impossible to get 100% of, like, if your chest measurement is 20, it's almost impossible to get it to be exactly 20 on the physical product. So any changes you have to make, you have to go down, check them out, and outline those changes. A good example of this is with joggers, especially with elasticated waist joggers. You could spec them as like 16 inches, but when you add the elastic inside, they really bunch up and they kind of lose around 1.5 inches overall, which around the waist is 3 inches. So that makes a difference. Being able to account for that in your tech pack when you're making those changes is key. So physical and digital don't always translate. At the same time, sometimes they do translate. You can see on our specific designs, the paneling has been done beautifully because the pattern is kind of like the cut pieces, like pieces once they're cut, how they're laid out, are very clearly detailed on the tech pack or the kind of technical drawings, and they're translated. And having a good tech pack that can do that is essential to make sure you're not making any unnecessary mistakes. You can make necessary mistakes, and those are things that are out of your control, like the humidity, the worker variance when they're cutting and sewing your items. But things that are within your control, like specing the right colors, making sure that you use the right materials, all that stuff is within your control, and you should be able to communicate that regularly. I wanted to show these 3 items because they're a good example of kind of like what happens when it's 100% accurate, when it's 90% accurate, when there's 1 or 2 major kind of design changes that have to be made. For example, on this red colorway, the flat lock seams did not match the main body color because the supplier took it, interpreted it as the darker color which was to be used, and that turned out not to be the case. We wanted a color that's in the middle so that it kind of flows with the body, similar to this one. And then the mesh, once it was dyed, came out a lot lighter, and that's something that we could only see once we had dyed it out completely, and we made the adjustments with the Pantones that we were using accordingly. It's clear that on the marled fabrics, they didn't bunch up as much as the non-marled fabric. So this is a jersey kind of material, the way it's knitted. It had a bit more of elasticity to it, so it bunched up a little bit more. So even within the same fabric types, different kind of like finishes and colors may affect them slightly. So again, having a good sample is key towards outlining those changes and to be able to see where your changes are at. That would pretty much be the extent of the main design changes. It's also good sometimes when you have your tags to be able to see the sizing, to make sure that the material is correct. Tags are very important. They're an essential part of communicating to your customer, the brand, the sizing, everything. So for us, being able to see what the tags are looking like in real life, how they fit on the garment, where they're attached, if they have any kind of unflattering features, maybe the material that's used is a bit too rigid, it's a bit too rough, it's irritating on the skin, all that stuff can also be outlined at the sample stage. So that's pretty much it. It's a quick video to show you guys what a tech pack can look when translated from digital to real life, and what pitfalls that you might encounter. Hopefully you guys kind of saw this video as a bit insightful. You learned a thing or two. You've seen how a digital item can turn into physical. If you have any questions on the specific process or anything that you're not quite sure about, please leave it in the comments below. It's always a pleasure to hear from you guys, and leave us an idea on what you want to see next from the design to manufacturing process. I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions. Until next time, thank you so much for tuning in to Fit Design TV. Stay awesome.